Welcome back to the Just Show Up show. Today is a really cool day because today we're talking about the emotion code, and this is a video that I wanted to record as all the other videos. I feel like we're just kind of like working our way down through all the videos that I've wanted to record for a really long time. But this one, yeah, I was actually kind of having a dream about it last night and kind of going through it and seeing like how am I going to explain this. But basically in my own healing journey, there's a couple of different things that I feel like really did a lot for me, and the emotion code is one of these things where I feel like this is actually something that I've used for like 3 years actively, and then I feel like, I mean, nowadays it's been a while since I've had to use it, but whenever I feel like there is a kind of like panicky moment, I do go back and I use it. So how did I first find out about the emotion code? I was actually working as a flight attendant. I was on a flight, I believe it was to somewhere in Asia, so it was a pretty long flight, and I had a cold and I didn't look good. And I was sneezing and like cleaning my nose all the time, and you're really not technically supposed to be flying in that kind of condition. And I ended up talking to a very nice passenger. Hi Sergio, if you're watching this. And he ended up kind of, we were vibing, we were both like very spiritual, talking about all of, you know, spiritual stuff. And then he said to me, like, have you heard about the emotion code? You know, like, you look physically sick, but it's most likely that it is an emotion that is causing this. And I was like, nah, like, can't be. And then we continued talking a bit more, and I was going through some stuff with my boyfriend. It wasn't even like anything specific, but it was definitely something in my system where it was like a bit stuck, like a bit, something was a bit off. And so he recommended the book to me. He said, read it, you know, like, it's easy to practice, try it out. And I read it. I first read it, and then it just didn't kind of click for me at all. I was like, oh God, like, how am I gonna convince myself to even try to do this? Like, this is gonna have to involve so much, what's that thing called? Like, oh my God, my brain. Like when you convince yourself to believe something that you can't possibly believe. So I did that. I read it the first time, then I kind of like let it sit there for a while, and then I don't know what the hell prompted me, but I read it again. And the second time I read it, I found the second edition, and the second edition was a lot easier. And also part of the reasons why I'm making this video is that I found that there is no videos of like an actual person using it, talking about it and demonstrating it. It's like when I, you know, went to YouTube and I searched emotion code, it's just these kind of like on stage type of videos where it's like, you know, it just looks like it's something part of a seminar and you don't quite believe whether it's real or it's not real, or these actors, and so on and so on. So I just kind of, you know, it's helped me a lot, and I do really think the theory makes a lot of sense to me. So the theory is basically that, I mean, obviously we are energy, and we have our like aura and our energetic body that surrounds this physical body. And in other things that I've practiced, there was also Jeffrey Allen, Duality on Mindvalley. I've done that, I think, the summer following this book, and he was saying the same thing. It's just kind of the way he described it was like, he called it pictures, but basically it's the idea that events happen in our lives, so you kind of form a memory plus an emotion, and these things together get stored in the body. So it's not like, I mean, it can be partially in the physical body as well, but it's mostly kind of in your energy field. And what this book, I feel like the revolutionary idea in this book is that the energy wants to move freely, and what we end up doing is that we hold on to these memories via our stories. So we tell the story of like, oh, this horrible thing that happened to me, and like every time we replay that in our mind, it kind of reinforces that emotion that is stuck in the body, and that obviously creates disease and, you know, suffering. So what the technique basically is then to become aware of the emotion, and that usually happens when the emotion comes to the surface via, you know, like crying and having a meltdown and whatever. And then when you are aware of the emotion, then you run the process. Like you go, and I will give a demonstration in a bit. You take the paper and then you locate which emotion is it. So you pinpoint the exact emotion, and sometimes it's a very different emotion than what you think it was. And it just kind of helps you to narrow it down and get specific. And then once you have like a very specific emotion, it's not just like, oh, I'm sad, you know, it's like a specific type of sadness, you know. Is it like abandonment, or is it like not feeling appreciated, you know, like there's a fine pinpointing to this. So once you're aware of it, then you ask, you know, like, do I need to know more about this? And then a very interesting process can happen if, you know, your body says yes to this. So okay, I kind of forgot to say, we're working with the body. So the other thing about this technique is that you are testing with your body. So your body is acting as a tool that says yes or no. And I think like that was the part that I had to wrap my head around, because it was like, what? But it just works. So there's different ways of doing this. I think it's called shit, I don't remember what it's called, but it's fine, it doesn't really matter what it's called anyway. But you can use a pendulum, and then you can use, I think it's called muscle testing. I'm not sure, but you can use this. I personally found it to be really hard to not control it. So the thing that I found the easiest to not control is my body. And you just kind of have to practice with it for a little bit. But anyways, I'll show you in a bit. This part right now is the story part, because I want to talk about this very recent example. So I've been using this method for this technique for a good 3 years, and I don't know why now, but like after my divorce, I was actually thinking about it when I was thinking about making this video. I was like, why after my divorce? Like, I wasn't sad about the divorce itself, like I didn't care anymore at that point, but I think what I was really angry and sad about was that I let myself get to that point in a way. And also I think like, you know, like the repetition of the pattern. So I had a pattern with my mom of kind of like victim and oppressor, and that just kind of directly it's not like translated, but I honestly think that I somehow brought it out. But then obviously I think, as I said before, like people get matched, you know, to kind of bring out all the bad stuff in each other. Like anything that needs to be healed will be triggered and brought to the surface, you know. And then obviously like you can either fight about it or you can heal. So in my case, the healing didn't happen within the relationship, but it happened afterwards. And once I left the relationship and I became aware of all of my issues, like, oh my God, you know, like I'm just kind of like recreating, you know, like the same stuff that I had with my mom. And like, I just felt this like urge to, like, I need to heal. And so I started journaling a lot. I started kind of becoming aware of a lot of the patterns, you know, a lot of the emotions just kind of were coming to the surface. And then I also met my current boyfriend, and like him being such a kind of divine healing presence, like he's so nice, you know, and like so healthy. So then when I had this like super healthy person, it just kind of made me remember how unhealthy everything else was in my life. And it just kind of like the pain of becoming aware of that just was very hard to process. And it's so interesting, like I'm getting my nose is getting so itchy as I talk about this, which is interesting. So you see, like, the body reacts. Yeah, now I got really distracted by my nose. Yeah, so anyways, the emotions were coming to the surface, and I would cry a lot. Like, I have a lot of selfies from that time where it was just so much emotion, so much suppressed emotion. And I think also, like, it was coming out because even when I was kind of getting mistreated with my mom back at home, I don't think I ever really cried about it that much. Like, I think I felt like, what's the point, in a way? Like, nothing's gonna change. And also part of me kind of felt like she doesn't deserve my tears and stuff like that. But I think ultimately I had to cry. I had to let, you know, like, once you become aware that you didn't protect yourself, and then you start to kind of feel really bad about your own part that you played in it, and the fact that you allowed other people to treat you badly. So that part becomes really, really sad and really hard to just look at and process. So it's funny, like, this is kind of not easy to talk about. Yeah, it's like, it's just kind of bringing back, like, so many memories of, like just really painful moments, like lots of crying, lots of just kind of wanting it to be better, and like not even wanting to feel the emotions. And that's actually the key point to this, is that the reason why we can't let go of our emotions and of our suffering is because we don't want to feel it. So last time when I used this technique, method, I finally understood it. So this is like 3.5 years of using it, and then it's like the first time that I actually feel like I used it properly, and it really did what it's supposed to do, the way that it's described in the book. So the way it's described in the book is like, imagine there's an energy ball and it's like trapped somewhere in your energetic body. So you run the method, and then the idea is that this ball of energy just kind of like raises and like exits your system. But what I understood last time when I used this, I was so distressed. Like, oh my God, was I distressed. I cannot even, wow, like I couldn't sleep. I was just weeping and weeping and weeping and just like panicking, and like, it was really crazy. And I could just, you know, like feel that my mind was elsewhere. Like, normally I can talk myself out of these kind of moments and be like, oh, calm down, it's all fine, it's it's just your hormones or whatever it is. But this time, oh boy, I was just running a story about how everything is wrong, and it's like, I know that I don't really make sense and things are not that bad and it's just my old trauma, but I couldn't calm myself down. So like, to be specific, it was, and this, I still find it a little bit embarrassing, but like, fuck it, whatever, you know, it just is what it is. Like, it's also, I feel like it's also fucking not my fault, you know? So when, you know, like me and my current boyfriend moved in together, it, like, all of my old stuff from my ex-husband and everything that went wrong in there just kind of, like, I had so much anxiety of it repeating, and I associated this kind of domestic living together situation as the culprit of everything that went wrong, instead of thinking like, no, like, I was just, I was in the wrong mental space and I was with another person that was just also like had a lot of issues, you know. It's not the freaking living together that is problematic. But then when we moved in together with my boyfriend now, it was just, I was so on edge, and like every small thing just made me kind of anxious that things are going wrong, or like, oh, the relationship is deteriorating because we're living together now, like everything is doomed. It really took me a while to calm down, but basically like one night something went wrong, or like whatever in my head went wrong, and I just got so like, I must have been PMSing, but I got really sad, and I couldn't calm down, and I was on this couch here, and then I got really desperate, and I was like, okay, like do the emotion code. So I got up, I ran the emotion code, I calmed down. I always calm down afterwards. And then I went to sleep, and the next morning I went to the toilet and I saw my face in the mirror, and I could just see like it's gone, like it's finished. Like I had this knowing that whatever this was, it's out of my system. Like I'm healed, I'm cured, because I saw this like white glow on my face, and like I swear to God, like my whole face just looked like something got lifted like off me. Like I don't know, I just because I would have expected, so the point was I would have expected to look really shit because I was crying all night and like I barely slept, right? Like I was expecting like a really tired looking face, you know, like puffy eyes, whatever. But I looked so radiant and glowing and like just beautiful. Like I looked fantastic. So I could not believe it. But my point is that the reason why that worked so well that day is because normally we feel the emotions, right? We feel the sadness, and like if we imagine like this is like 0 to 100, right? And it's like the emotion wants to exit our body, so it's coming to the surface. It's like it just, I guess it just wants us to be aware of it, feel it, and like it's gone. But we never want to completely feel it, right? We feel it up to like 60-70%, and then we're like, oh, this is too painful, like this is too much, you know, let me push it back down again. So it just constantly comes back up and back up again, because it doesn't ever get fully felt for what it is, because it's too painful, obviously. But I feel like this example really made me feel like, wow, like that's it, that's the whole point. It's like you have to sit with it and let it pass through you, and like not resist it and not fight it and not shove it back down, because like every time you do that, you're just prolonging the process of suffering, because it will come back up. The body wants to heal. The body wants to expel all of these things that it no longer needs, right? Like why on planet Earth would you need an old trauma that is just a memory that is stored in your brain that is no longer like informing your life? Like it's like, okay, maybe you were not safe back then, but like now you're in a perfectly safe, healthy situation. Like you really don't need that thing anymore. So it's annoying because your system is kind of bringing that memory back, because it wants to you know, it wants to clean it out of your system. It wants you to feel fully good in your new reality. And another thing that I also had, which was deeply annoying, but also really good, because it was like, so I dream a lot. And throughout these 3 years of my healing process, I had recurring dreams. And we all know that recurring dreams means that you're, you know, whatever you want to call it, your unconscious, your higher self, God, whatever, whoever, universe wants to give you a message and be like, hey, look at this, you know, like this is something that's in your system that needs to be dealt with. Like it just needs to be addressed. So I kept having these recurring, like I wouldn't call them, I mean, some of them were nightmares, but it was just this pesky, annoying dream. More or less the story was always like, I'm being forced to live with my ex-husband. So like, he wants me to live with him, and like, I don't have a house, I live with him, and my new boyfriend, he doesn't have a house either. And it's like, I have to tell my ex-husband that like, I don't live with him anymore, like he doesn't own me. So it was always about this kind of like idea of ownership. Like, you don't own me, you know, like I'm my own person, like, you know? So I don't know, it's so interesting. Like, when there's stuff that is not cleared out 100%, your dreams will keep pointing you back to that thing. And it's like, sometimes it's not so much even about the person, but it's more about what they represent in your psyche, in your system, where it's like, okay, I know that there's a couple of themes, you know, like coming into your power, like speaking up, you know, like not being intimidated by authority, you know, opportunism, you know, like not kind of just taking something because it's easier or more convenient, but like really kind of carving out your own path. Like, that's what I'm learning in my case. But yeah, anyways, so that's what I wanted to share today. I wanted to share about this thing that's helped me so much, and I really think, you know, if any of you are still struggling with like sadness or unprocessed things from the past, you know, from your childhood, things that are just hindering you in your current reality, where there's no danger, or like, you know, there's nothing in your current reality that is technically making you feel bad, but you're still carrying these stories, you know, and these old negative feelings that are just preventing you from like living your best life and being happy, then I do really highly recommend this book, and I highly recommend running the process, and I will be giving a demonstration now. So I'm actually going to cut this video in 2 parts. I'm going to separate the demonstration into a second video. So here I will say thank you for watching, and the other video will be a complete demonstration. So thank you for watching. I will see you again next week, and if you want to contact me, if you want to coach with me, I will leave my website down below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Okay, so I'm gonna be recording this in here because there's literally no way to handle this crazy light situation in this house. But basically, like, this is the chart. This is how you deal with this. And you can find the chart by just googling emotion code chart, and then usually I'll just kind of put it on a table right next to me like this. And then what I do is I'll just stand like this, and the idea is that first you kind of connect to God or whatever you like to connect to, and you just kind of say a little prayer for either for yourself or for the other person that you're doing this for. So I would just kind of take a little moment to kind of ground myself, to center myself, and to, I mean, obviously, like, doing that while you're crying is funny. So I would just kind of like ask for blessings for, you know, like to help me be neutral and to release the emotions that need to be released. Then I would put my arms down and I would ask, is there a emotion that we can release today? And then what you do is, first you want to train your body to say yes and no, and you want to kind of get a clear sense of like what is a yes. So you can say like, is my name Jenny? As you can see, like, I've practiced this for a while, so then my body goes forward. Like, if it's the truthful statement, it will go forward. If it's a yes, it's forward. And if it is my name Pete, then my body swings backward. So that's how you get your answers. So first you ask, is there an emotion that we can release now? For me, it's actually a freaking no. Because I'm so blissfully happy at this point. But let's assume there was one. So it will say yes. then it will swing forward. Then you say, is the emotion in column A or column B? Sorry, no. Is the emotion in column A? And then it will say, let's say, assume it says no. Then you understand, oh, okay, it's in column B. So you remember column B. Is the emotion in an even row number? And it says no. So then you know that the emotion is in column B in an uneven row. So then you start asking, is the emotion in row 1, 3, 5? So you kind of deduct that way. So then, is the emotion in row 1? Let's say no. Is the emotion in row 3? Then it says yes. And then you start, so row 3 has confusion, defensiveness, grief, self-abuse, stubbornness. So you go one by one. Is the emotion confusion? No. Is the emotion defensiveness? No. Is the emotion grief? Yes. And then once you get to the part of, so you know your emotion is grief, and if you are in a very distressed state, you will be more than clear that it is the right one. Or it might be like the exact emotion that you are having, like feeling, but it might be a different perspective to it. So then at this point you can ask, do I need to know more about this emotion? And then more often than not, in my experience, it will say yes. And then you can think, you know, like, or for example, in this case, grief, you know, you at this point, most likely you will already start to kind of get some, like, your unconscious will start coming to the surface, and you will start to get some visions or some ideas about what it might be related to. So let's say maybe now you might be in grief because of love drama or whatever, but then you can say, like, do I need to know more about this? So then if it says yes, you can say, is this my grief? Is this my emotion? Or, because sometimes it can be that it can be your emotion, but sometimes it can also be, you know, like you're carrying an emotion that is actually an extension from your mother or your grandmother. So it can be inherited emotions and inherited trauma that you can release at this point. So let's say you asked, you know, do I need to know more about this? Is this my emotion? It says no. Then you can say, like, is this my mother's emotion? Is this my grandmother's emotion? And at this point, like, most likely your intuition, you know, like you will start to get some kind of downloads about what this is about. And very soon, once you're at this stage, you will start to feel like really relieved. Like, you will be feeling like, oh, okay, cool, like I know what this is. So just the awareness alone that you know what is going on and like that you can do something about it. So then, I don't have it right now, but we will imagine that this is a magnet. But it doesn't really matter if you have a magnet or not. If you don't have a magnet, you can just simply put your fingers like this and do this. So you start off from here, and then you just drag it down, and I like to kind of just do it this way, and you carry it all the way down to the bum, to the end of the bum, and you repeat this 3 times, like this. 3 times, slowly, like, and the 3rd time, I swear to God, you'll feel relieved already. And I think what it has to do with, so there are different ways of doing this method, but this is the simplest way. I think this works really well. You would just feel like it's almost like a reset button on your emotions, and then at the end, so you've done this 3 times, you'll come back to this original position and you will ask, have we successfully released this emotion? And then most likely your body will say yes. If it says no, then you repeat this 3 times thing one more time. And then again you ask, have we successfully released this emotion? And I've never had the experience where at this point it said no. So yeah, that's it. I swear by this. I've done this so many times when I was distressed, and every time I really feel like so much lighter. And I've also practiced this with a friend of mine, and she was, oh, like she was even more relieved than I was. So it's a really simple tool. It sounds a bit crazy. It definitely sounds a bit like, are you serious? But you know what, like, no one's watching. You're doing this in the privacy of your own home. You don't have to tell anyone about it, but it's a tool that you can have for yourself that actually works, you know. And it doesn't matter, like, the thing that I thought to myself when I first started this, I said to myself, like, okay, fine, like, this is really fucking weird, but I'm gonna try it. And if it works, great, who cares? And if it doesn't, like, no one needs to know about this. So anyways, I just wanted to share this because it really is, especially that last episode that I had, the glow that I saw on my face was just like all the evidence I ever needed that this really, really works. And I wanted to share it because obviously it's not very well known, it's not very popular, but I think it's so useful. I think we should all know about this, and I think it should be a toolkit in all of our toolboxes. So anyways, I wish you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again next week. Bye!